Hey guys, and welcome to the Child's Place. I am your host, Real, and I'm here with my brother,
Money Milk.
y'all. We are going to be touching on some touchy subjects, but hopefully not to hurt people, but to help people, families. So I guess I'll kick it off with just kind of like asking my bro a few questions about himself. So let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
So for one, how did you get the name?
So my name Money Milk, actually, it's a funny story. It came from one of my mother's old boyfriends, and it was funny because growing up, he used to always tell me, he would be like, I'm calling you this because I know you're gonna make money one day, and you're gonna make serious money one day.
Okay.
And the name, I used to think the name was so annoying, but after a while, the name kind of, once I started the business, it stuck with me. And I always use Money Milk, but I always put a zero for money because I had $0 when I started. So it's kind of like a behind the scenes thing.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. Okay. So how long have you been sort of like a influencer, like just on social media? How long have you been doing it?
Since I started the company, like maybe 4 years now.
Okay.
4 years on social media, 4 years running the company.
What's the pros and cons of that?
So,
A lot of people don't know what
cons.
comes with being an influencer, you guys. What is the pros? Give me at least like maybe 2 pros or 2 cons, Give me something.
2 pros of running a business is giving me the ability to be able to do the things in life that I never thought I would be able to do, for one. Another pro of the business, I think I would say, the impact that it's had on people, and the impact behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even realize is happening. I run a car rental company. I teach people how to run a car rental company. So on the side of the customers, the great thing about it is, you find people in really hard situations that they're renting these cars, and me being able to provide this service just gave this lady the opportunity to be able to put food on the table the right way. On the flip side of helping people start their businesses, I coach people out there that want to start businesses that feel like it was unachievable to them, and I like to use the background that I come from to motivate people to start businesses. I don't tell my stories and the thing I've been through looking for pity. I tell it to motivate the person that's in a situation where maybe you got bad credit, maybe you don't have any money in the bank, maybe you're facing eviction, all types of stuff like that. That's what I like to use to motivate somebody to say, you know what, wait a minute, I'm seeing somebody do it, so I could do it. When I started my company, I felt like it wasn't achievable because I never saw somebody that looked like me doing what I wanted to do.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Tell me this. What would you say to a person that was about to step out there and take this kind of risk or take this kind of chance to start their own business, to start their own anything? What would be your bit of advice that you would give them, so to speak?
The first thing that comes to my mind would be mentality. A lot of people don't understand how important their mental is, and to everything that they're doing, if your mental is not right, you will not be able to get anything done. So my biggest piece of advice to anybody that was getting started in anything is your mental has to be there. If you're not there mentally, I'm telling you now, you're going to fail. Business is about failure, and a lot of people feel as though the reason why they're scared to start is because they're scared to fail. Failure is a part of the process to being successful. I would not be a good coach to anybody if I had not failed. I can't teach you how to do something that I've never specifically been through. So I think, honestly speaking, it's going to go back to the mentality. And it all starts with your childhood, believe it or not. That's what we're going to dive into on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all bear with me. I'm just trying to make it so that my phone don't fall. We're going to keep it real on here. Y'all going to see some stuff every now and again that's real footage. You hear me? I'm not about my name speak for itself.
We keeping it real over here.
There's a whole lot to that. So let me ask you this. Name a time where you felt like, whether it was before or now, name a time where you felt like you would have threw in the towel or just gave up on something. Doesn't matter what it is.
A time where I would have thrown in the towel. You wanted me to name a specific story of when I would have thrown in the towel?
Whatever comes to mind.
I mean, it's just the obstacles that'll come across running a business, and a lot of people, I feel like, don't speak on it enough. Is I want to say the relationship between the family and running a company. And something that I'm honestly speaking battling with myself right now is a lot of my relatives feel as though, and my father was the one that made this statement to me, is that starting that company was your dream. That was not our dream. So why are you penalizing us for not supporting what you wanted to do? This is you decided to take this risk. But the prime example that I was using was, there was a time when the Chinese restaurants. It was this thing about rats. Y'all know, whatever y'all want to say, they had some type of issue going on where everybody was saying they're cooking rats, they're putting rats in all the food, or they were saying they was putting pigeons. I want to ask you a question. Tell me, who is, and I'm talking race wise, the biggest supporter of the Chinese restaurants?
I would say hands down African Americans.
And let me tell you, when we all stop going to the Chinese restaurants, I promise you, you wouldn't be able to, off the top of your head, name me one Chinese restaurant that you know that is closed now because of that. You know why?
Why?
Because the Chinese people will support one another all the way, no matter what. You got the daughter taking orders. You got the son on the grill. You got the father on the grill. You got the mother running the whole operation. The reason why they stay in business is because they stick with each other. Even though it may have been, let's say, the father's dream to open the restaurant, the wife is going to be right there supporting it, and they're going to teach the kids that this is what we're supposed to be doing.
I get that. I've always asked myself, like, this big major question: do you own it? Do you control it? And can you pass it down? I feel like a part of life is being able to answer yes to all three of those. Do you own it? Do you control it? And can you pass it down? They're very important, and the sad truth is that foundation for a lot of people was not there the way it should have been. And so you find yourself trying to create a foundation for yourself. Or I guess filling those missing pieces to what you feel that you didn't have or what you would have wanted, in your childhood. If you could think of one thing that you feel would have been very helpful in your foundation of a childhood, what would that be now as an adult looking back?
A unified family, and not in a fake and phony way, but in a legitimate way. We shouldn't just be unified on Thanksgiving when it's time to take a picture. We should be unified when Thanksgiving is over and Aunt such and such is going through a hard time. We should be unified after Thanksgiving when Keisha's getting evicted. We should be unified in those times, not just because it's a holiday. One thing that I genuinely speaking cannot stand, and people will never understand this about me, is if you haven't called me in 364 days in the month, in the year, please don't call me on that last one to tell me Merry Christmas. This is not the opportunity. You haven't called me in all of this time. Don't call me now. It's a trigger for me. And going back to the question that you asked me, I just feel as though it really takes a village, not only to raise, but it takes a village for the duration of your life. You need that advice from the aunt. You need that advice from the mother. You need that advice from the father. You need all of the advices combined to be able to grow and to move forward. But when it's not unified and people are fake and phony, you'd be surprised to find out that the ones that pretended the most are the ones that are of the most dysfunctional.
I get that wholeheartedly. So that one thing basically comes down to just having a unified household. And that to you is what? That would be a what? In a perfect world, to you, what would that look like?
In a perfect world, what a perfect household would look like, or a unified household, I would say, even if the parents split up, whatever the case may be, I'm just thinking back to my childhood. Even if the parents split up, there should be a working relationship that's in favor of the child. Because a child needs both their mother and father. Even if we don't agree, even if we don't see eye to eye, we have a child together. And I always tell people, especially like for the mothers that want to say the father was a deadbeat. Okay, but you knew this before you laid down with him, or you should have known this before you laid down him, and vice versa. So I just don't accept that as an excuse. I just feel like for a unified household, everybody needs to be on board for the younger generation. If we can't get on board about me and you, can we get on board about the child that we have? Can we get on board about the nieces and nephews that we have? Because we ultimately need to realize that they need us to be unified. They need to see what they ultimately need to be. You can't yell at your child about going to college if you didn't go to college. You can't yell at your child for not being a cheater and you have 17 wives. It doesn't work like that. And I feel like if people realize that, we'll be much better off. And when I say people, I mean specifically our communities.
Yeah, for sure, man. Oh man, already I feel like we done hit some places where I can't wait for my turn, y'all. I cannot wait. So let me ask you this: with the way that things is today in your life, when it comes down to, and I'm gonna just jump right in there, when it comes down to family, when it comes down to close friends, when it comes down to relatives, and y'all know I always like to break that down because I know family to me might mean one thing and family to you might mean another, but I definitely want to know, what is your definition of family? What is your definition of relatives? Like, how do you identify those relationships? Like, what does it mean to you? What does family mean to you? And how do you categorize who's the family that's, I guess, that you're bonded with most of the time versus the distant ones? Like,
Okay, so I've adapted your mindset when it comes to that. I feel like the
okay,
family is what you can create, but the relatives is what you're stuck with. And when I speak on family for a long time, I feel like the people that listen to me, they get confused and think because I say that, maybe my blood quote unquote aunt, I don't address her as auntie, they think I don't like her. And it's not that. I love her. I want her to do good, and I never have ever in my entire life wished bad upon her, but I had to remove the title because it was causing confusion due to the fact that she's never demonstrated to me what an auntie is. She's never been there for me. She's never supported or helped in the way that I felt like an auntie should have. So for me, family, I could create the family. I can find a person out there that has been a brother to me and deem this person to be my brother, but my relatives, I'm stuck with them. Those are the ones that are blood related to me, because I've been in situations, I'll tell you now, where I have really genuinely learned the hard way that the person with the blood could do the worst to me. They are worser to me than a complete stranger. If you want to know how many people with the same last name as me has helped me with this company, I'm sorry, I gotta go with zero. They might say they support, but when it's time to support, you're playing a game of Where's Waldo. But when it comes to the stranger, even going back to my last store location that I had a complete stranger. I mean, this lady was in her 80s, upstairs every day, coming down, making sure I ate, asking me how I'm doing, having a conversation with me. And I just feel like a lot of the relatives just think support is always, we want your money. I don't want your money. I got the lady upstairs coming down and bringing me ham sandwiches. That is considered support. She gave me not a single dollar. So why is it so hard? You know what I'm saying? To get this from the people
that you're related to.
are related to me, and then not only related to me, but more in a better position to have been able to do something than this elderly lady upstairs from me. It doesn't make sense to me.
And I just want to add to, never take away from, because I understand where you're coming from. And some things is already known when you know the bond that you have with a person. But when you said 0 people with the last name as you helped, I want to, for one, say, Mom has always been there, right? And she's always been helpful when it comes to running your business. It's been times I call and she answered the phone, or she's there on the videos that I see him doing. So I think sometimes as well, with us being an influencer, because we may have forgot to say it in a certain way, or it came out in this way, that in itself can create something when people are watching. So I sometimes, when I catch it, or if I realize it, because I'm only human, I do like to circle back and correct it if I can. But
no, also to that point, for one, my mother doesn't have the same last name as me. And
okay.
And I think that's big to mention. She doesn't have the same last name as me, because my father wasn't there the way that he should have been. She should have the same last name as me, but she does not. But when it comes to my mother, no, she's definitely been the only, now let me speak on relatives. She has been the only relative / family member that has been involved with support in the business. Not support in the way of just saying it, but like actual physical support. I might not be able to come up with $1 million, but this is what I could do. I could do X, Y, and Z, and that's what I consider support. Support is not always money, and I feel like I always have to clarify that when I say support, because the first thing that a dysfunctional family member wants to say is, we don't have money. I don't have that type of money. I didn't ask you for money. I know you did not have money, which is why I started the business to begin with, so that we could all have money. And I also want to touch on that, because a thing about me is I started my business because I felt like growing up, the biggest problem with my family was always surrounding money. If you made more money, you was outcast. If you had $1 more than this one, they would say little things to you like, oh, must be nice to drive that Mercedes Benz. Yeah, it's nice because I work for it, but you got to pay attention to the things that people will say to you, because they're identifying themselves, and you're exploiting their insecurities when you make statements like, oh, it must be nice driving a car like that. So that's to that point.
I get that completely, wholeheartedly. So if you was trying today to give somebody out there a word of advice about mixing, or I guess, associating relatives with your business idea or venture, what would be some advice you would give them to prepare them for what they could possibly experience in that kind of dynamic? Trying to say, for instance, you ever had a relative try to get one of your rentals half off or, just anything in that area of feeling like they should be entitled to it because of the relationship, What do you say to that person?
It's something that they don't speak about, but you genuinely speaking have to be prepared for it. I think a big challenge for me starting off was understanding the boundary that needs to be established between my relatives and my business, and getting them to understand that this is a business, right? If I have one car on my rental fleet that's available for rent, and you're in a situation where you need a car for a month, I cannot give you that car for free for the month. I will be out of business quicker than I started the business. So to anybody starting out, it's very important to kind of establish those boundaries, and those boundaries are really, really hard to establish because people that don't own businesses, and they get offended when I say it, but they don't know what it takes to run a business. They see what you have, but they have absolutely no idea what it takes to maintain that. Like, and especially with my relatives, they see me get a brand new Corvette and they think all of a sudden Malcolm got all his money in the bank, he has a Corvette. Little do they not know, one thing that I know about business, you can do a joint venture. You can partner up with somebody that has the vehicle, and you could use your skill set. So while you might see a nice, bright, shiny Corvette, I spent no money on that Corvette. It's my skill set that I'm partnering with another person. This is called a joint venture, to be able to make money. So establishing those boundaries is really tough, but it's really important to do it early on, because if not, you're creating demons with these people later. So if you start a business, you're a girl and you open up your own nail salon, and your mother, your aunt, your sister come by to get their nails done, and you do it for them a couple times, just understand you just created a demon. Now you get to a place where you really can't afford to have them sitting in that seat when you need a customer sitting here. Guess what? Too late now. You've done this 10 times for them. Now that you're trying to stop it, good luck. You're not going to be able to stop it. And when you do try to stop it, you will become the bad guy.
Yes, Lord. Sing it to the choir. It's the truth. So often we also take for granted, of the relationships, just relationship in itself. Like, whatever happened to not worrying about the things I've accomplished or you've accomplished, like whatever happened to families just reaching out, and like you say, you ain't talked to me all year, but you want me to come around and sit around the table Thanksgiving. Like, what do you feel is the reason why relatives are now so distant, from each other, that it's awkward to sit on the phone more than 10 minutes unless you do need something or whatever, or want something, or somebody passed on? Why do you think that is, and what do you feel like creates that for you?
We're getting to a place where we are normalizing not normal behavior. We're getting to a place where we're getting comfortable with sweeping stuff under the rug. We're getting to a place where we are so comfortable with not addressing the elephant in the room because of a holiday, a birthday party, or a celebration. And honestly speaking, that's why I got to a place where I had to remove myself from those rooms, because I can't take it no more. I can't sit in the room with the person that stole my inheritance car. I don't know how to do that. I used to try to play it off, but it doesn't make sense. And I just feel as though we're getting to a place where we're comfortable with it, because so many people will come together to make you feel like it's something wrong with you for speaking on it. Like, no, it's not something wrong with me because of that. I think we need more of us to actually just step up and stand for what matters. Like, what makes sense? Let's be logical right now. Does it really make sense for us to sit in this room and not address the elephant just because it's Christmas? This might be the perfect time to address this while we are all sitting here in this same room. And I feel like a lot of the times people don't want the confrontation of what could come from addressing certain things, but you don't even understand that you're making it so much worse by allowing this to just keep prolonging and prolonging and prolonging.
I get it. I love it.
And you know what, honestly speaking, a big problem too with that is social media. Social media is causing such a big disconnect with families and people, and everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses. You got a cousin that, he feels as if he doesn't have the most expensive shoes on, that he's not, keeping up, or something is wrong with him. But now he's seeing these people on social media with it, so now he doesn't know how to make that type of money to spend $1,000 on shoes. So what is he gonna go do? He's gonna go sell drugs, or he's gonna go rob somebody, because he doesn't know how to make that money to get that shoe, because he saw somebody on social media with it. Little does he know that person was faking it. So I think social media definitely will tie into this problem as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I feel like that's all my questions that I have for now.
Well, let me start with this question. I want to know where your name came from. I think it would be really beneficial for the people to know the meaning behind your name, because I know what it means, and I just think that the name is so powerful. So can you tell us where the name came from?
So y'all know, my name is Realthecomedian. I go by Real more than anything. The R stands for remember. Let me just tell you where it came from, period. I was about 12 years old, and I used to think I was a rapper. So I needed a rapper's name. And me and my cousin, God rest his soul, he's gone now. We was laying there thinking of names, and he was like, you just so real. Like when you rap, you really speak about the things that is going on currently, and you relate to so much. And he was just like, but the part of you that you need to work on is how much I love, the fact that when I love you, I'll do anything for you. At that time in my life, even at 12, I was just like the kid that wanted to help everybody. I was running around with little babies and feeding them, and I always been that person, that cared about everybody. So we broke down the name. We came up with the name Real, but then we broke it down, and we made R stand for remember, E stand for everybody, A stood for ain't, right? I'm only 12 at the time, right? And L stand for loyal. So remember, everybody ain't loyal. It was important to me back then to learn that, and even now I still kind of hear that every time somebody say what's up Real, and I resonate with that because I still have that heart that wants to love hard and give hard and invest more and be there for a person. But I realize everybody is not me. Everybody don't have those intentions. Everybody don't got your best interest at heart, and when I'm reminded by the fact that everybody's not loyal, I kind of remove a lot of my expectation out of people, and I think that's important for people to do, because otherwise we end up getting our feelings hurt. And if you're a lover like me, I'm a Cancer, shout out to my Cancers out there, I have sensitive feelings, the small things really bother me more than anything. The no phone calls, the no showing up, or what I mean, just not remembering my birthday, stuff like that. To me, I don't care about the gift that you could possibly give me on my birthday, but just the phone call to say happy birthday to me means so much. And those were the things that I was missing out on, not even realizing how much others was getting. I was still stuck on I didn't even get the acknowledgement of a birthday. I never in my life had a birthday party. You know what I mean? So those things that I seen people doing and things, to me was just like, wow, why can't I experience that? What is wrong with me that's making it so I'm not able to have those memories and stuff? So remember, everybody ain't loyal has helped me then. It's still helping me to this day. And it doesn't hurt the same. It doesn't hurt the same.
Okay, so with a name like Remember Everybody Ain't Loyal,
Mm-hmm.
it clearly will demonstrate to me that you've been through situations where loyalty was broken.
Mm-hmm.
So for the people out there, I think it would be important if you could just briefly tell us the difference between loyalty and love, because I feel like a lot of people get loyalty and love mixed up,
Mm-hmm.
and they think love equals loyalty.
Mm-mm. So for me, and that's what it's always going to come back to with these words, is what they mean to you as a person as well. But for me, I could be loyal to you and not love you. I could be loyal to going to my job every day and faithful with doing the best job I can do when I get there. But I don't love my job. There's plenty of people that got a job or a career. They don't love it, but they're loyal. They go every day. They do the best job they can do when they're there, right? That's loyalty, right? Love, for me, is an action word, right? I prefer the action behind the word more so than just saying I love you. I feel like people have used that word to con people forever. People have used that word to manipulate people's feelings for a long time. So when you tell me you love me, instantly with that word, I'm already thinking about the actions behind it. How can you tell me you love me, but you're really not active in my life? You don't love me. You know what I mean? You just say that as a endearment, as a word of endearment. So for me, I could be loyal without loving you, or one without the other, right? But with both of those, I need to see the proof. I need to see that. So for me, they separated, and a lot of people don't understand. You can actually marry somebody that you don't love. For me, I mean, I feel like you don't have to marry for love. You can marry for any other reason, and love will happen. We are people. We naturally are you spend enough time with a person and you'll grow to love them. Think about the people in our, like our ancestors and things that had arranged marriages and things like that, they didn't never know this person, but they were, put together and married off, because that's their tradition, that's their history, and they grow to love each other. So love is something that can build over time. You don't have to love a person to be with a person. A lot of people are together right now that don't love each other. You know what I mean? And they're not all unhappy about it. Some people are happy with the fact, or with their situation.
But
so
can
for
we
me,
get to the place where we speak on the ones that are not happy and they're staying with this person?
yes.
Because the cost of living is so high that it's like, I can't leave this
Yep.
girl or this guy because I can't even afford to pay rent on my own.
Yep. A lot of people are together for those reasons, and I ain't mad at them, because I feel like if you like it, I love it. Just be honest and be real about your situation, at least to the people within the situation. You don't owe nothing to nobody outside of that situation, anything, but we should know the business. We should know why we together.
Now, with respects to the name of the podcast, we're calling this the Child's Place Podcast. Give me a scenario or a situation that you've been through in your life where maybe you was told to stay in the child's place, because that's ultimately what we're going to do. We're going to take situations that maybe an adult told us to stay in the child's place or, be respectful. But these are the moments in our lives where we're asking, most of the time anyway, genuine questions that would have helped us in our development growing up. Like, if we could understand why you just did X, Y, and Z, or you just said X, Y, and Z, maybe we could move forward on a better note from here. So I kind of want you to tell the people a situation that you've been through, maybe where you was told to stay in a child's place, and how it made you feel.
For me, I always was that child that wanted to ask questions, right? I always was that one that got 1,000 questions, to the adults. I always would want to know, well, what's this and what's that and what does this mean? So coming up, if there was ever a time that I could remember the most right now, it would be a time where, I wanted to understand why I had to stay at a certain relative's house. You know what I mean? And I wasn't comfortable at this relative's house. And as a child, back then, wherever my mother was taking me was where I was going. I really didn't have, all of this new generation thing of opinions and children having their own say and all of that. I wasn't at liberty for that when I was coming up. So if you was going to your cousin's house because your mother was going to do this or going out or doing whatever they was doing that grown people did, and she had to drop you off over here, that's where you was going, And so I remember a time where that was happening. I was getting dropped off somewhere that I didn't want to go. And, I spoke up about it. I asked, I basically said, I don't want to go over there. Why do I have to go over there? And when I tell you that you need to stay in a child's place, go over there. I wasn't talking to you. We figuring this out. I don't care where you want to go. You go where I tell you to go, And so you learn to not even speak up for yourself, and I want to speak on that subject because it was a lot of things that, because of being told stay in a child's place, or you don't speak until spoken to, or be seen and not heard. It was a lot of different little things that they would use to keep you in your place, out of their place, of being grown or whatever. I guess they considered that being grown or being fast, or, most of all being disrespectful. Having a voice or asking a question, you had to tread lightly because you didn't want to be disrespectful, because being disrespectful meant you was going to get your butt whooped, or you was going to get punished, or you know what I mean? And so it really, to me, was the place where the adults weren't at. You knew to go get in it real quick. So that was one thing. And honestly, a lot of the reason why I didn't want to go to this particular loved one's house that I was getting dropped off to was because of the way, how sometimes people let you come over and they're really, really nice when your parents are around, but when the parents leave, go over there, don't touch that of my child's, or my kids don't sit in this area, they don't do this. It was like one of those things. But then when my mother come back to pick me up, it's, you can bring her back anytime, everything was good and she had fun. And what was I supposed to say? I had to go when I went and I had to leave when I left and go back. But, people would treat you different when your parents not around, or you would have to hear them say stuff like, her mother need to hurry up and come back and get her, like it was a problem the whole time, my parents were gone. But then when my mother come back, it's, you could have took longer. You was fine. And you remembering all this, but it's like, you're a child. You can't say, hey, mom, she was just saying, you needed to bend pick me up, or I couldn't touch this, or I couldn't do that, and I had to sit down. It wasn't fun over here, but I had to stay in that child's place. I wasn't able to feel comfortable enough to express those type of things coming up.
Now, to turn the gears a little bit, because I feel like I should have started with this, but I know you're very well known in Baltimore. Everybody's running up to her in all the stores and stuff like that. For the people that's new or that's just tuning in, I kind of want you to give us a little bit of background of who you are and what you do for the people.
Okay. So again, my name is Realthecomedian. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. A lot of people know that I was born in Baltimore. However, I didn't stay in Baltimore all of my life. I've lived in more places than I can possibly even tell you guys. I remember asking my social worker, because I grew up in foster care. I was removed and put in foster care in 1996, 10 years old, going on 11. And I lived in 67, yes, not 57, 67 placements. More schools than I can even tell you. So I've had Caucasian parents, Korean parents, African American parents, and staff and group home facility staff. I've had a large village in raising me, and I've been through a lot of trauma because of that. So a little bit about me is me growing up in foster care and having all these different traumatic experiences. It caused me to go through a whole lot of things, from struggling with my identity, not understanding what I wanted to do. And that's another whole topic with my sexuality, or, really not understanding what love is or what love is supposed to be, bouncing place to place to place, experiencing things like molestation. I was brutally raped in my first foster home, in 96. So it's a lot of story behind my childhood and coming up, that I can remember that was traumatic for me. But some kind of way, not some kind of way, because of the grace of God, I made it I'm 40 years old right now, So as of now, what I'm trying to do and what I've been doing is I cut my live video on one day on Facebook, and I just started speaking out like how we doing right now. And I was hurt this day, and I was yelling and I was screaming. And so many people tuned in to this live. It was damn near going viral, and people started messaging me and asking me like, when are you going to come on again? When do you do your videos again? And I'm like, I don't do videos. I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, no, like when you spoke to my soul. Like it was like you were speaking to me, and you knew exactly what I was going through with your words. And, people were telling me how my words was helping them, how, speaking on some of the horrific stories of my past was helping them. Being able to speak about being molested openly without breaking down into tears, was inspiring to people. Or speaking on being in foster care was inspiring. Not only growing up in foster care, but becoming a foster mother for the same agency that I once lived in. I've always tried to take the lemons life gave me and find a way to make lemonade, and so I became a foster mother. Started talking on the lives and making it a weekly thing that I did, cutting the video on and just speaking on certain topics that we go through in our everyday life, paying the purpose to reach resolution and understanding. And I understood early on that it was going to come with a big price. People say let it out and everything, but when you let your hurt out or your story out or your perspective out, instantly here comes all the judgment. Here comes all of the people that's offended by what you're saying, because you're saying it in this way, and they feel some type of way because they feel like you're talking about them, and it's like you get criticized more than you get complimented on the fact that you're being courageous. I even now telling my story, I can only tell it the way I remember it. If it's not politically correct, or if it's something in there that, you remember that I didn't, I'll give you that. But you could never take my story from me. This is my testimony. So I speak on the confusion in the families. I speak on what it feels like to be a black sheep, what it feels like to be a dark-skinned girl. I speak on the favoritism, feeling like I was that child that was told all the time, you can go the next time, and the next time never came. What it felt like watching other people have things and me go without. It was a lot of hurt and abandonment in that, so I found a safe space to vent, to speak about it. Some people like to write theirs down. Some people like to, pray or do meditation. For me, I like to cut my video on, and I like to let whatever I want to let come out, and if I let it out and you're sitting there too wrapped up into the fact, let me just say this one thing. When I started telling people about my molestation and about being raped in foster care and about being molested within the family and in foster care, the first thing that they would ask me is, well, why would you say that on your video? And for me, it's like, you're more worried about how this makes you look than actually having this opportunity to ask me, how did it make you feel? And do you still live with that trauma? Is that still bothering you? Do you need me to be there for you? Because you wasn't around. You didn't watch me. I just told you I was raised in 67 placements. So how can you tell me what was real and what wasn't real, what happened and what didn't happen? But I think a lot of times people think we want them to change our past, when we understand that we can't change our past, but we can address the past and we can come to an understanding. All people want you to do is to understand what they've been through so that you can understand why they're the way they are today. I think if you would focus on that and understand that, you can have empathy and sympathy for anybody. If I see somebody and they tell me something that they went through, I'm not instantly going to jump into, did it happen? Did it not happen? I'm going to offer them some kind of comfort, whether it's, I'm praying for you, keep your head up, it gets better. I might even offer them something that I've been through. People want to know that it's not only happening to them, and a lot of my trauma, I always, since I've been shining light on it, I've realized I'm not the only one that don't have the best relationship with my mother or my father. I'm not the only person that don't get to call my sister tomorrow and just kick it and talk on the phone for hours. But when you're that person in that situation, you feel like it's only happening to you. You believe that you're the only person struggling over your money right now. You're the only person trying to figure out how you're going to pay that rent. You're the only person trying to, whatever your struggle is, whatever your success is, it's somebody on every level in life. And I think that if we can just find understanding in our heart, a lot of these broken relationships will start to mend. They will start to come back together, and understanding and love will start to form again. But as long as people keep on allowing their own self-guilt, and because, well, when you say you was molested, that make your aunts and uncles look bad, because people going to look at that and say, well, where was the parents at? You understand what I'm saying? I can't worry about all of that. When I'm telling my story, I'm telling it for a release. I'm telling it for that person that's being hurt right now. I'm telling it for that child that hasn't gotten to a place to tell somebody. Trying to make it so they'll understand that when you say something, help is there. Help can come. But a lot of people don't speak on it when it's happening. Looking back, I know why I didn't go to an adult and tell them pretty much what I was going through. It was because of the judgment that I seen a lot of people go through because of opening their mouth. Because of opening your mouth, now everybody's walking around calling you this or calling you that, or saying, throwing shots at you for opening your mouth, and you shouldn't have said them because you're making the family look bad. So now you're carrying the guilt of opening your mouth and the guilt of the fact that this happened to you. And it's not a good feeling. And it's honestly the reason why a lot of people have unalived themselves to this day, because of opening their mouth, and getting bashed for it. So these cameras and social media have allowed people to have an outlet. And I think people are so offended by the fact that I'm more comfortable going on my social media and cutting my live on speaking to somebody that, don't know me from a can of paint than I am picking up the phone calling my brother. Why is that? Why am I more comfortable talking to this supporter that pops on every time that I pop on, that's faithful, that's supportive? And I'm not just saying that on the internet, because a lot of times y'all are the ones that actually purchase our merchandise. Y'all are the ones that actually rent the cars. Y'all are the ones that actually believe in us, that share our videos, that participate and do the things that our relatives should be doing. But we're not supposed to tell y'all nothing. We're not supposed to build a relationship or a bond with y'all because it's make-believe. No, it's make-believe for you, because my supporters have been a part of my real life. When they see me in the streets, they do run up to me. They give me hugs. They give me motivation. They give me encouragement. They pray for me. They show up in my real life. They have been in my wedding, so I look at them and I'm like, it is what it is. This is my truth. And if you don't want to live yours, just know that by me opening my mouth, somebody else don't have to go through what I went through. Somebody else won't have to go through it. And if I really think about it, a lot of our history says if it wasn't for Martin Luther King, if it wasn't for Harriet Tubman, if it wasn't for those that came before us that sacrificed, even Jesus Christ that sacrificed his life for us, then where would we be today as a person? So I feel like there's followers in his life and there's leaders in his life. There's buyers in his life and there's sellers in his life. And early on, you have to decide which one you are. And I am a leader. You understand what I'm saying? And I understand today why a lot of people don't understand me. And that is because I have the ability to do the things and be the things that they want to be and they want to do, but they for some reason are afraid of coming out or saying it. But I learned a long time that closed mouth don't get fed. Closed mouth don't get fed. A long time I didn't speak up for myself. I did not stand up for what was right. I went along with everything. I sat there and I listened to people sit in front of each other and fake like they like each other and then leave and whisper things to me. And I saw the fake and phony. And eventually I got to a place where I said, I no longer want to be a part of that. I no longer want to sit right here while we as a family is talking about this cousin over here. You're saying this cousin over here, they ain't got no food in their house. You saying that they ain't got decent chairs to sit on and everybody's laughing and joking. But then when that cousin walk in, y'all talking about, hey girl, I love you. I can't do that no more. Because at the end of the day, if we was going to talk about anything, we should have been talking about coming together as a family and purchasing a couch for that cousin. That's what we should have did. And so I no longer wanted to be a part of those conversations. And because of that, it was like, if you can't beat them and you're not going to join them, then we don't want you around. And I don't believe in going nowhere where I don't feel comfortable, you know.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And I think the best thing that's going to come from this podcast is just mixing two different generations, but with similar stories and just a little bit to like introduce myself to the people. I mean, growing up for me, like a lot of people that know me now will just see a business owner, and it's just, it mind boggles me that a lot of people that see what I do, they have to associate me to coming from a background of having money. Like they see a business owner, they're like, yep, daddy's money. And people will say this in a way where it seems as if they're trying to like troll you or be funny, but a lot of people to themselves really would be thinking that because anybody that's out there that owns a business, and it'll take a business owner to tell you they think you come from so much money, but growing up, I did not come from money. You know what I'm saying? I grew up, it was just me and my mother, and we had, but we did not have it like that. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the Rolls Royces and the Lincolns and the Mercedes Benzes. We had a nice car that got us to and from where we had to go and, you know, stuff like that. But it wasn't no whole lot that people would think it was. You know, my mother used to work all the time because, you know, you had to make sure that everything was taken care of, and she wanted to make sure that I was in a good area, but at the same time she wasn't there all the time. She had to work, so I was with my aunt, and, you know, just growing up with my aunt and stuff like that, like my life was so different from what people thought it was. So I mean, ultimately what I'm trying to say is, for me, my life is not what people thought it was. I had to really work to get to where I am now, and so much of the things that I've been through in my childhood are things that I'm honestly speaking navigating through now in my adult life. Like it was times where, you know, just growing up, I had so many questions, and, you know, like she was saying, it's disrespectful to ask questions. And even now as an adult, certain things that I want to ask questions to is disrespectful. You know, like I'm dealing with a situation right now where my grandmother that passed away, I remember I was one of the last people to have a private conversation with her. And I clearly remember her telling me that when she was, right before she passed, I remember her telling me that she had left some money for me, and I couldn't see this money until I either graduated college or I started a business. And 2024 was probably the hardest year of my life. I'm sitting here and I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm hearing her talk to me, and I remember the conversation, and it's like trying to find this money. It's like nobody knows where this money is, and they're all telling me that I'm crazy and this didn't happen. So I'm just looking so forward to us being able to sit here and really dive into these conversations. And I really need the people that's watching, you know what I'm saying? Put what you're going through in the comments if you feel comfortable. If you don't, we're going to open up the DMs. We want you to talk to us and let us know what the situations are, because you would really be surprised to know that you're sitting right here with, you know, Realthecomedian and Money Mouth, but you're looking at us for where we are now. But we want to talk about where we came from, and we want to see if we could ultimately catch you with where you are are and help you with your mental so you could develop into where you're supposed to be. This podcast that we're creating, we're not trying to sit here and we're not looking for pity. Because me personally, pity don't pay bills. Okay,
Period.
Rent. Let's talk about rent for a second. It started at $2,900 in New Jersey. You're not getting a 1-bedroom for less than that unless you want to live up under some roaches.
Yes,
and
Lord.
I'm gonna tell you one thing from my childhood, and people be thinking that I'm not humble when I say this. I'm not living with no roaches. I don't care what I have to pay.
Facts.
I grew up with it. I love my aunt to death, but it was just something about the cockroach staring at me when I woke up, and I took that and I used it as motivation to say I cannot live like this under no circumstance will I ever wake up and a roach is staring at me again. Like I'll do anything but that. But like I was saying, we're doing this to help the people. You know what I'm saying? So anything that I feel like I speak on, I got to a place where I don't care how it makes somebody look or how it makes them feel. This is what I've been through. And I have seen time after time from when I speak and I get into serious conversations with people, how things that I have been through have benefited people. You know how many people out there right now are going through a situation where, you know, their father is not in their life the way they're supposed to be, or their mother is not, or their aunt is not, or their brother is not. If you could get to a place where you could just accept your reality, you could move forward.
Facts.
When I started pulling these titles off of people and I start just calling them by their first names or their last names, and not in a disrespectful way. If you're a lot older than me and you're supposed to be my aunt, I'm not gonna call you, you know, Sharon. I'm gonna say Miss Greer, whatever the case may be. But when you start removing the titles from people, you could progress in life. And for me, being able to progress, it started with just realizing, okay, you're supposed to be my uncle. You have never done anything to be my uncle. Let me just call you Tom. You were supposed to be my brother. You've never been my brother. Let me just call you Rick. You see what I'm saying? And when I realized that, I was able to actually fill those positions with people that actually met those expectations for me to help me to be able to move forward in life. So for me growing up, it was just a thing of just confusion. And now in my adult life, I found a lot of the answers to things, and I just want to be able to, you know, ultimately help someone else that's watching me that's in my age range. You know, if you're in your 20s, because also, by the way, you guys, I'm 23. I be talking to people be thinking I'm in my 30s. I am not in my 30s. I'm 23. But, you know, from the conversations that I had with Real, for those of you that don't know who she is, she's also a life coach. She helps people. If you have anything going on in your life, I recommend her. I mean, listen, you look her up on Google, whatever social media platform, listen, it'll speak for itself. But I'm just telling you, even someone being in your 20s, don't be afraid to, you know what I'm saying, reach out for help and have a conversation with somebody, because we all need to have conversations with people. I don't care what age you are, what you're going through in your life, you need somebody to talk to. And sometimes it's really good to have that outside perspective. You know, I always tell people, even my cousin that I'm helping with her relationship, when you need relationship advice, if you're not talking to a life coach, a licensed professional, the only other person you should be talking to outside of those people is either God or the person you're in a relationship with.
That's it.
You should not be taking your problems to everybody else, because they are going to ultimately side with you if they like you, you know, and they don't have the best interest of the relationship all of the time. So I definitely would recommend you guys, you know, check her out, look her up. If it's your first time seeing Realthecomedian,
thank you.
Search her on Google, search on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. She's very well known, especially down here in Costco's.
I cannot with him. It's Sam's Club. Don't do that. And you guys likewise do the same thing. You guys look I'm getting tongue tied. Look Money Mac up, y'all, on all social media platforms as well. I will tag some things in my Facebook, and you know, he'll tag some things inside of the TikTok as well. We're going to be doing a whole lot more, a little bit more organized, but we just wanted y'all to be a part of it from start to finish. And most of all, we wanted to give y'all the most authentic experience possible. I think so often with the platforms and the social media, you know, it has gotten so far from the real that people can't even recognize real when they see it no more. So we didn't want to create this with, you know, a whole bunch of like edits and bloopers. We wanted y'all to also have an experience. We'll go chop it up and everything, but we feel like we invited TikTok and Facebook in here to be a part of what y'all seeing right now. And again, if you guys have anything you're going through and you would want us to speak on it, you know, we're going to make it so you'll be able to call in and ask us some things, or call in and add to what you see us talking about, you know, the full experience. So just accept us for right here If your family, I do see a couple of family members on my page, but if your family, I know for a fact, or relatives, I know for a fact a lot of us feel the same way. When I talk to people on a daily and I ask them, because I'm curious, I want to know, like, how is your family, in your bond and what's going on. A lot of people today are saying, I don't deal with my relatives like that. I haven't seen my so-and-so in this long, and I don't deal with my such and such, and so it's a sad thing. And hopefully the Child's Place can help, like I said, bridge the gap and bring generations together in support of one another. So don't focus more so on the problem, but let's focus on the resolution. We'll be offering the resolutions. We'll be offering the advice to say, okay, we went through this, or this happened, or this is how we feel about that, but look, this is what you can do. We're going to be talking about how you can fix and build your credit. It's a lot of things I didn't know about that. I want us to be able to touch on every aspect of life on this podcast, so that when you come, you feel like you left with more than you came in with. You know what I mean? And that is the goal. Pain's a purpose. So just be along for the ride. What I will say is just pray for us, keep us covered, because we mean well. You know what I mean? If your feelings are bothered by anything that we say, you can always take it to the man upstairs, or whatever relationship you have. You do not have to bring it to me. Do not call me asking me about nothing that you hear. I'm speaking for myself. Don't call me asking me about nothing that I say on my podcast. Don't call me asking me what I said on my Facebook, because I wipe my own ass. I'm grown. Anything I say once, I will say it twice, and it will not be changed, honey. I don't owe you no explanation. And I feel like if a lot of us realize that, we'll get a whole lot further in life. It's going to take too much of my energy to try to explain.
Fill in the blank for me real quick. What I eat don't make you?
Shit. It don't. So ain't no whole lot to that. We don't owe nobody anything, and nobody owes me anything. What you see is what you got. And if you heard it, you heard it. Now don't wait until this thing go further viral to be like caring about it, because it's like weird that I've been on social media for over 10 years now, but now that my videos are viral, all of a sudden everybody care about what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm more interested in the people that have been supporting for years than the fact that you just tuned in the last 2 videos and you feel some type of way. I can't answer your question because I'm too busy trying to answer theirs, so I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Y'all gonna get the real from the real.
And let me go ahead, since you did that, and give them my disclosures.
Please do.
If you are a Christian, don't watch.
You don't have to.
I don't know how many words I'm going to be using that are not in the Bible. I don't want to talk about it. This is going to be my reality. This is what happened to me. And to the relatives, like I always tell them, I love them. I love them all. I don't want nothing to happen to them. But these things need to be spoke on, and I just feel like I have given more than ample opportunity for us to speak on these things in private and work on them. Now, since you don't want to talk about it, it's okay. I don't want to talk about it with you, but what I do want to do is I want to help another person that's going through this, because a lot of them really don't understand what it feels like to sit in a room by yourself in the middle of the night and just be really thinking to yourself, like, what would life be like if I was not here?
Wow.
They don't understand the things that they will put you through will really have you sitting somewhere sometimes. Like, I had an aunt, to this day I never got answers to it. She would take all of the other kids out. She would take these kids out with me along, and I would watch her buy all of the other kids. You guys know the little chubby sodas they used to sell at Pathmark and a bag of Skittles. She would get this for all of the other kids and would not get it for me. Tell me, oh, call your parents, ask your parents. Wow. I'm not your parent. Like, do you know what that does to a child growing up? Like, how that made me feel as a little kid, sitting there thinking like, is something wrong with me, is why she wouldn't buy me this. I remember me and my cousin had to go in the bathroom at Pathmark, and we had to steal. I'm gonna be honest, but it wasn't like, oh, we were stealing because we wanted to steal. We took a Minute Maid, went in the bathroom, and we shared the Minute Maid because my aunt didn't want to buy us something. Like, this is the stuff that we really want to dive into, and I'm gonna bring my all when I do this podcast, in the sense of I'm not filtering any stories, I'm not sugarcoating it, I'm not dressing it up, and so if you don't want your name mentioned on this podcast, Aunt such and such, Uncle such and such, I'm gonna tell you now, don't call me, don't look for my address, don't do none of that, because I'll start mentioning names. But that's all I got for now. This is the introduction. I want you guys to definitely make sure in the comments, show us some love, for real. Put some flames down in our comments, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channels. We're gonna have some merchandise coming out, for real. Some nice hoodies and t-shirts and all of that other stuff y'all like. phone cases. You know what I'm saying? So definitely.
And if
make sure
y'all got merch that
subscribe.
y'all want us to show, let us know. Y'all can send us y'all stuff. We all about supporting each other. Y'all can send us something. We'll promote it a little bit, or show it on our podcasts as well. It's all about, I always say on sharpens on, so
And
throw it
let's
out
even
there.
do this. Let's use the comments right now on these videos. If you own a small business, whether you're selling t-shirts, hoodies, hair, you do nails, you got a car rental company, whatever the case may be, I want you guys to start out by that. Just drop that down in the comments, because you never know from the people that's watching these videos. I feel like we're going to have a lot of black sheeps watching these videos. Black sheeps is the best people to be around, first of all. So if we got a black sheep on here that owns a business, I definitely want you guys to put that down in the comments. You never know who's watching this video that might need your services. And I'm big on supporting the small businesses, supporting our own people, making sure that we can stay as unified as the Chinese people do, making sure we can stay as unified as the Arabs do. Their businesses go on and on for life. I just heard this from a millionaire actually recently. He was like, Malcolm, did you know that most black businesses fail within the first 10 years? He's like, most black businesses don't make it past 10 years. So I want to actually use this podcast as well to make sure that us black businesses, minority businesses, we excel past the 10-year mark, and we stay in business for as long as we want to.
That's the truth. That's what's up. So hope y'all like what y'all see. If not, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's going to go where it's supposed to go. But we thank y'all for participating this far, for sitting here and hearing our different perspectives. Each one is going to be better than the last one. That's going to be our approach. We're going to also try to take it on the road, go some places, and we're going to get to a place where we invite people to come on the podcast. So we got so many great ideas, as to how amazing this will be as a journey. But we have to understand that not everybody is meant to go where we're going, and we're going, whether we're with you or not. We would hope that you would want to come along for the ride, but if somewhere down the road you feel like you have went your distance, then it is what it is. We understand that some people are with you for a season and some people are with you for a lifetime. So I'm okay with letting my seasonal people be a season, so that I can get to where I'm supposed to be. And I think it's encouraging by itself to see people be courageous, because I know a lot of people are watching us already like, wow, I can't believe they said that, or I can't believe, I wish I had the balls to say what they just said. You do have the balls to say what we just said, but most of all, actions speak louder than words. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. You know what I mean? You really got to be able to back it up. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to back it up. We're going to be taste testing some things. I'm going to come down there to get in that good kitchen he got, and we're going to cook and be doing some episodes. We're going to have some fun. We might even play some games and record. We're going to have some fun. So if you guys would love to be a part of it, if you want to collab with us, let us know. We're open to any and everything. Only thing we turning down is our collar, period.
That part.
So we out. We love y'all.
And in the meantime, we need y'all to stay in the child's place.
Please stay in the child's place. Over there. Over there. But just stay there.
The child's place is right here.
Right here. We have designed it. And when next time you're looking for it, it's right here. So until next time, guys. Good night.